The Alps have just experienced their first major snowfall event of the winter, with accumulations down to relatively modest elevations. Everywhere from the Alps Maritime all the way through to Austria and Slovenia has experienced snowfall over the last 8 days, with the northwestern Alps in particular, and especially the region around Mont Blanc, experiencing the brunt of the storm. And it hasn't just been the Alps. Ski resorts in the Jura and even the Vosges have also experienced the first snowfalls of the winter. And closer to home, we've even seen snowfall in Snowdonia in North Wales and in the Scottish Highlands. There has been almost constant precipitation with a cool northwesterly airflow for the last 8 days. Freezing levels have varied, but at times in our region, snow has fallen down below 1,000 metres. And as such, many resort towns have seen the first snowflakes fall of the winter 2025-2026 season. Throughout this period, we have seen 3 major intense bouts of precipitation, and the snowfall totals have really totted up. Even down at 1,500 metres around the Chamonix area, there's been around 25 to 30 centimetres of accumulated snowfall. Up at 2,000 metres, the accumulations are in the order of 80 centimetres. Up at 2,500 metres, we've seen in excess of 1.5 metres of snow. And up at 3,000 metres, significantly more than that, anywhere that hasn't blown away. So these are some pretty sizable snowfall accumulations to be having at this time of year, all the way down to relatively modest elevations. Further south and east in the Alps, the accumulations have been a little bit less, but we've still seen fairly significant snowfall accumulations in the Tarentaise and in the Swiss valleys, for example, with the likes of Teens and the Three Valleys experiencing up to half a metre of snow at 2,000 metres and 80 centimetres to a metre of snow up at 2,500 metres. The snow was accompanied by very strong winds, and as such, up high on any exposed ridgelines, very little snow would have stuck around. It's all just blown away. But equally, anywhere in the lee slope of those exposed ridgelines, you can imagine there's been some very significant snowfalls deposited in the shelter from the wind. So with a northwest wind, any more east-facing bowls high up could well have seen really significant accumulations. With this snowfall coinciding with the school holidays in many parts of the Alps, it's no surprise that many people have been getting in their first turns of the season. In Chamonix, with the Flagère gondola having reopened for the half-term holidays, it's looked and felt almost as if we're back in the COVID times again, with hundreds if not thousands of skiers skinning up the piste up at Flagère, and as such, it virtually looks like a groomed piste now, just one day after the snowfall. And this is of course good news for retaining the snow, because it means that in effect there is now a skier-packed base on many areas up at Flagère, thanks to all the skiers getting out there and skinning up. And of course, even some plucky Brits have been getting out and earning their first turns of the season, if you can call those turns, but either way, some people have been getting out and getting skiing up in the Cairngorms as well. While these snowfall totals are impressive, it is neither exceptional nor unusual to see lying snow in the valley at this time of year. In the 5 or 6 years that I've lived in the Alps, we've had at least one major dump of snow every year in September or October. So indeed, you could argue that actually this has come quite late. Some years I've been skiing down to the valley in the Tour in mid to late September, so actually this is nothing exceptional or unusual. But that said, coming when it has now, this is a great early season base building event. The strong wind is going to be blowing the snow into the cracks between the boulders, filling in the gullies, filling over the streams, etc. And obviously the later in the season that the first big snowfall comes, the more likely that actually more of it will survive as well. So all in all, this is great news for the start of the ski season. After 4 or 5 days of below average temperatures, freezing levels have now risen once again, well above 2,000 metres. Indeed, by the end of the day today, they're pushing 3,000 metres. So it's been a pretty rapid switch from very wintry weather back towards autumnal or even late summer feeling conditions. And the temperatures are set to stay at or above average for the foreseeable future now, at least the next 7 or 8 days. We've switched from a predominantly northerly or northwesterly airflow to a southerly or southwesterly airflow. We're now back in the tropical maritime air mass. At times over the coming week, freezing levels are going to be pushing 4,000 metres, which is actually pretty exceptional for the time of year. But that said, it's not going to feel hot and summery in the valley. With a freezing level of above 4,000 metres, you'd expect to see temperatures in the Chamonix Valley at around 1,000 metres in the mid to high 20s, but at this time of year that's just not going to happen. The cold air, which has now sat and sunk into the valley, is going to stay. It's going to remain trapped in the valley for quite a while, especially in the upper valley where we have lying snow still up at Argentière and La Tour. That's going to further suppress temperatures even more. So actually, while up at mid-mountain it could well feel quite toasty again this week, down in the valley it's still going to feel pretty cool. We are expecting a little bit more precipitation through Wednesday night and again potentially through the following weekend, and the freezing levels will drop a bit as the precipitation pushes through, so we might see some more snow down to mid-mountain, although this time it will be warm, it will be humid, it will be heavy, but equally it will be raining at many of the elevations which have currently been seeing snow. So we will gradually over time start to lose a lot of the snow that has fallen on the lower mid-mountain, but as I say, in places where it has drifted, where it has been skier packed, and anywhere where it's particularly sheltered, this will likely remain now. This has been, again, a great base building event, and with the snowpack becoming saturated this week, if there is any rain, then that will further help to consolidate the snow even more. So, whilst it will start to look a lot less wintry again throughout this week, particularly below the tree line, and a lot of the snow which has fallen below 2,000 metres will sadly go again, but this is the base now. We have seen our first meaningful base building cycle of the season. In places where we need it for the ski runs, some of this snow will survive. And of course, up high, most if not all of the snow will survive. So this is it now. This is a setup for the winter. Remember, if you are in Chamonix at the moment, or you're thinking of heading there at some point in November, that after this weekend, from the 3rd of November, all lifts will be closed. Even the Guida Midi closes on the 3rd of November for its annual maintenance. And the Flagey Gondola will be closing again. The Montemer's train will be closing again. So, if you have got high mountain plans, make the most of this week, because it's going to be much harder to get up and get out anywhere from this weekend. And of course, if you are thinking of heading out up high somewhere, once you manage to dig out the Guida Midi lift and get it running again, the avalanche risk up high is going to be pretty considerable. Anywhere where there was already lying snowfall, the amount of snowfall that we've had over the last week on very strong winds, there's going to be some significant and deep wind slab around, so yeah, be careful. Make sure you've got all the right equipment with you and you know how to use it, and plan accordingly. And lower down, anywhere where there's a grassy base, you also need to be aware of the potential for wet slab avalanches, as the ground is still not completely frozen potentially, and as temperatures are heating up through this week, got a heavy wet snowpack sitting on top of a potentially wet lubricated base. Even at relatively low elevations, you might still see some wet slab avalanches, so that's worth bearing in mind as well. So, I hope you're all starting to get excited for the coming winter. I know I am. As always, I'll keep you up to date with any developments that happen across the Alps, and particularly in the Chamonix area over the coming weeks. I expect the season in Chamonix to start last weekend of November or first weekend of December, and from then on in, once I'm back and around, I'll be uploading a weekly snow report throughout the entire season, so I'll be keeping you up to date with everything as it goes on throughout the season. So as always, if you want to stay up to date, you know what to do, and I'll see you next time.